Hey everyone, it is Riding Side Saddle with Lisa
and Tammy
and Pam.
We have our friend Pam with us today.
Back. Couple of cousins sitting in our recording studio / vehicle.
Yep.
And Pam.
Yay.
Pam, I was trying to remember, I think you might have been our absolutely very first guest to join us.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was either her or Trish, my friend Trish.
Oh, that's right.
I don't remember which one came first.
Yeah,
but
they were very close.
yeah.
So way back in season 1, which kind of does seem like a bit ago, it was, I think we were trying to figure out, it was like October time frame. And we were chatting then about some of the things that were really important to us as part of Riding Side Saddle, talking about women's bodies and bringing to the surface things that we just do not generally talk about, as common as periods once a month, right? It's not things that are public knowledge. It's not something that even we understood about our hormonal cycle. That literally happens 12 times a year, every single month, or 13, actually. Were you going to correct me on that?
No. Let it ride.
So that was really one of the big things that we wanted to discuss during season 1. And we wanted to bring you back and talk even more about those types of things. Because like in season 2, we didn't quite talk about that stuff nearly as much. A lot of self-discovery types of topics. But really just wanted to come back and start talking about the physical aspects of being here, really. So thank you for joining us again.
Of course. Well, and today we have the really, really fun topic of perimenopause.
So
Honestly,
near and dear to my heart.
There's so much. I mean, there are so many things that happen as you age, generally, as a human. But I feel like there's so much that actually is attributed to perimenopause that we just attribute to being older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So anyway, I think we'll have an awful lot to talk about. People have stopped me and have been like, so about these hormones, why are we not hearing about this? Why don't we know about this? Why is this a secret? Perimenopause is horrible. How come I don't know? Like, my mother never told me. Why are we talking?
Well, and I think that some of the symptoms, right, kind of fall into that category of, is this common? Yes. Is it normal? No. And we talked a bit about that during season 1 with, A Star for Everyone, talking about your hormonal cycle.
I just heard today, and this is not about perimenopause, but I just heard today that, my words are escaping me because perimenopause
Foggy brain. It's
morning sickness is actually a magnesium deficiency.
It can be. Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
No, I just thought it was part of being pregnant.
I thought it was excess hormones and your body needs to adjust to all of the things that are happening.
Wow.
I had no idea. So anyway, right, there are all these things that happen to us that we just assume is normal.
Right.
But it maybe
only because it's common.
Right.
Yes.
And you go to the doctor and perhaps they look at you and say, yeah, you're in that phase.
Right.
Like, you just kind of have to come to expect that. That's part of this phase of life for you.
And if it's uncomfortable, well, we can maybe, I don't know, put you on the pill.
How uncomfortable is it?
Right. We could do an ablation of your uterus so you're not bleeding so heavy or at all.
Yeah, it takes a lot of shopping around to find a doctor who really understands the ins and outs of the hormonal cycle of a woman. So there are a lot of quick fixes. There are, and we've come to expect quick fixes with a lot of things. We want the medication, we want a surgery, we want everything that doesn't require a whole lot of work.
Also, I think sometimes you get to a place where you're desperate.
Correct.
How many times can you bleed through your clothes at work?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, I think it comes to the point of desperation sometimes. Like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't even matter what you do now. I need something to
I need
address
a
this.
fix.
Right.
Like, easy or not, I just need this to not happen anymore.
Let's talk about those fixes.
Yeah, let's.
But let's also acknowledge the elephant in the room, that it's all kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, we're
Hilarious. Yeah. No,
I'm not laughing.
We laugh about a lot of things, Pam.
That is
not one of them.
No.
well, I'm perimenopausal too. I am 40, about what I was
You're in your 40
I have to
bucket.
do the math. Yeah, I'm in my 40 bucket. I'm somewhere in my 40s. I'm close to my mid 40s. I know that. There are a lot of new things that are coming out that make all of this a little easier to deal with naturally. But really what it comes down to is it feels like a really awkward, weird place to be when we're at this age, doesn't it? And I think that's why they call perimenopause the second puberty.
Oh, I can see that.
Because we're
Yeah.
just kind of weirdos at this age. And I think that's okay. I mean, we're trying to find ourselves as wise, older women.
Crone
We're-
phase.
Yes,
Right.
we are in this in between. And I think it's okay that we're a little weird and awkward and weird things happen that are out of our control. And
Well,
We're also at a place in our lives that we're also tired of being tired.
yeah,
Right? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you add in that emotional stuff on top of what's happening hormonally and physically, and no wonder we act weird. No wonder we might be, off the walls. No wonder we might be just like, screw it. I don't care anymore.
done with you.
Yeah. Lick some knuckles.
And I think it would be more, I think I would find it much more funny if life allowed for it.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yes,
No.
Like,
correct.
it's more like, well, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like,
Why are you so
get it
crabby?
together. Right.
Right.
Like, this isn't who I know you to be, or what expectations I've had of you, or the last 20 years of experience with you. So what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And that's not to say like my husband is completely insensitive, but that's just life, right? My children, my work, my acquaintances, my husband, my, like, even myself, honestly, like what the hell's going on? Like, I this isn't how I handle things, or I don't react this way.
So maybe would it be okay if we start by talking about what's physically happening?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Great starting point. Thanks.
Okay.
I mean, really, because that's what we notice the most, right?
Yeah.
Hot
Correct.
flashes.
Yeah.
Your period getting wonky.
why. Let's talk about why. Okay, so hopefully you've heard me before talk about how hormones start as a trickle.
Right?
Yes.
And then get stronger, creating
The canyon's drying up. Is that what you're saying?
our river that's going through the canyon.
It's
is
going back
starting
to a
turn
trickle?
Back to a trickle. Yes. So,
I feel coughing coming on. A dust storm swirling in the canyon.
Tumbleweeds going through.
that could be a symptom. Getting a little drier than usual.
Take that how you may.
So anyways, like, take it back to Gold Stars for Everyone.
Yeah.
The episode where we talked about what is actually, like, how the hormones are actually working. So as we are as our hormones are starting to slow during perimenopause, which actually takes up to 10 years
Seriously.
before you hit menopause.
A long fucking time.
It does take a long time, but puberty took almost 10 years too. So our estrogen levels are decreasing, which means if our estrogen isn't hitting that top threshold to make us, to make our bodies start producing LH, and LH is luteinizing hormone, which helps us ovulate.
Yeah.
So if estrogen isn't hitting that top threshold, we're not ovulating. If we don't ovulate, we don't have progesterone to balance the estrogen out. And then our body tries again and tries to hit that threshold so that it can eventually ovulate. So what is happening is that estrogen is not getting high enough. And estrogen is our maiden hormone,
Right.
which gives us energy, it gives us the want to create, and we want to eat junk food, we want to dance around, but we don't want to do organized exercise.
Yeah. More spontaneous.
We're more spontaneous.
Loud, perhaps. Friendly.
Yeah, we speak our
Sexy.
minds a lot easier.
Yeah.
We're good presenters.
Yes, yes. I'm
You
glad
need to
that
give a
stuck with
presentation
you.
at work. That would be a good time to do it. Check your ovulation cycle, not your business calendar. Right.
But then we don't have progesterone to come in and slow everything down. We don't have that because we haven't ovulated, because our estrogen hasn't hit that threshold. We don't have the progesterone to come in and say, no, just chill out, eat some soup, lay on the couch, and think things through. And then we end up feeling exhausted because our estrogen level is so high all the time trying to get us to ovulate that we don't have that balancer to calm us down.
Interesting.
So we end up taking on all these projects that we maybe don't really want to do. We want to create all of these things that we don't really want to do all the work for. And we get angry at people
And resentful.
maybe without saying anything, when it's possible that we kind of started that whole thing by being excited when they first talked to us. And it,
Well, that I feel like there's a lot of things that could come into play there. I mean, we've talked about the Enneagram thing, and also women have a tendency to be people pleasers, and you know. But then you get to a point where you're so exhausted because you have all of this stuff happening hormonally and physically that then you get angry about all this extra stuff that you're expected to do because you took on too much when you were feeling good.
right.
Yikes.
And then eventually your estrogen does hit the threshold and we ovulate and we crash. Because our progesterone also is not hitting that same threshold, because our egg then, our follicle has taken so long to develop because our estrogen wasn't high enough that the progesterone level isn't quite where we need it to be either to balance things out. And then we just end up like, wah.
So
Yikes.
Done.
So what is depressing me as you're talking through this is that this is the way it's supposed to be.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
Ugh.
Right.
But
Oh, I never even thought about that.
there are so many ways to take care of yourself that help negate a lot of how I'm saying it so that it ends up being a lot easier to deal with.
All right. Let's
it's
hear
worse.
that part.
Yes, we do need to hear that part. But maybe it's worse because of the state that we live in. And I don't mean Wisconsin. I mean, like
The environment.
absolutely,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
It's the, the Kotex, the tampon commercials who were like, don't let your period stop you, go do everything. And we've never been in a place where it's been okay to have a rest phase, right?
Right.
Or be like, I'm just not feeling it today. Saying no is socially unacceptable.
Not an option.
Right.
Yeah, well, step number 1 to taking care of yourself during perimenopause is to rest. Give yourself permission to slow down, to rest, and to perform self-care.
Which is so hard. It's hard in general, okay, because our environment and because of the way we were raised and all of these things that, you should listen to every episode up until now,
Right.
to, fill in the blanks. But when you're in perimenopause, some of the physical things that take place is weight gain. So when you go to your doctor and you say, well, I'm having a hard time controlling my weight, and they tell you, well, modify your diet and exercise. Well, I've been doing that, but I'm still gaining weight. Well, you need to work harder at it. So then that goes counter to
If what
rest,
your
because you're
body
getting fatter, right?
Right.
And then you're supposed to rest, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to combat all of this weight
So
that
are you
I'm
putting
adding
too
on?
much stress on your body, which then increases your cortisol, which increases your size?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
there's a lot more than that. That is a good start. There's a lot more to it than that. So estrogen is a blood sugar balancer. But when you get too much and it just keeps going, then your insulin starts becoming the problem.
Gosh.
So you can actually have, technically, problematic blood sugar regulation and not have insulin resistance. And you're not having too much of a problem. Like, you can eat that cupcake and not have a problem. But if you have blood sugar dysregulation too many times for too many days, too many months, too many years in a row, then it turns into insulin resistance. And insulin resistance gets elevated when our hormones start to change. And if you already have insulin resistance, you're more likely to get type 2 diabetes. You're more likely to have other blood sugar issues like numbness, tingling, gaining belly fat, and even losing your hair on your head and growing hair on your face or other parts of your body where there wasn't hair before.
Yeah, another fun side effect.
and to the celebration.
Yeah.
So the second step to taking care of yourself during perimenopause, first step is rest. And yes, we know that's hard. Step number 2, regulate your blood sugar, which is hard too. That means cutting down on carbs and cutting down on processed sugars. And it may mean taking your blood sugar every day when you first wake up. So you have a fasting number after an hour after eating meals and then before bed.
Back to this diary, huh?
The
Diary of Lisa's body.
Oh, man.
So, this might be a little off track, and I apologize up front. Some of the things that you're talking about here are reminding me of the ads that are populating my Facebook feed. Many of those ads know that I am of the perimenopause age, and they are talking much about, balance your hormones, balance your hormones, balance your hormones. It's easy as that. Like in 12 weeks, I'm back to the size I was when I was in my 20s. Is that a thing? Is that even possible at this point in the game when your estrogen is squeezing out everything that it can do to pop an egg through, and then it can't do it, so it tries it again, and that's the normal state? And then progesterone does the same thing because, the egg doesn't come through like it's traditionally, used to. Like, is it even a thing to balance your hormones the way it makes it so easy and simple in these ads to sell me stuff?
That's a trick question because it takes about 12 weeks to normalize your hormones. And in 12 weeks time, when you're perimenopausal, your hormones have changed.
So there isn't balancing anything because they're
You're always-
shifting and they're supposed to be shifting.
Yes.
Liars.
So you're always chasing
Something that's
not, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not static. So
Right.
it's not like you can just do it and fix it and then we're good, because it's always changing.
right.
When you're
and it's
in your
supposed to.
30s, you could balance your hormones in 12 weeks easily. Well, not easily, as we've already talked about, resting
Yeah.
and eating well to maintain blood sugar is not an easy thing to do. But when we're in our 40s, 50s, no, we're not. I don't see that is an easy solution. I don't see that that's a solution at all. But you can do the best that you can at regulating your hormones and balancing your hormones by doing these other really basic things that we should be doing all along. Resting, eating well, and making sure that we're getting all of the vitamins and minerals that our body needs.
So there was a time, and maybe it's still a thing, I don't know, I haven't heard much about it of late, but there was a time when exercises like boot camp were really popular. I participated in one. I lost 4 dress sizes in a summer. It was fantastic. But I also burned out my adrenals, and I feel like I'm still paying for that. And that was almost a decade ago. So taking care of yourself, there was a time where I thought that was taking care of myself. It actually wasn't taking care of myself. I was working way, way, way too hard. So when you get to this stage in your life where, you know, your hormones they're trying to balance themselves really in reverse, right?
Recalibrating.
Recalibrating without adding more stress, but also not just laying on the couch all day, moving your body without being detrimental. Stress relief as an exercise, not inducing more physical stress, right?
Yeah.
So going for a walk in nature can be an emotional stress relief, right? You just leave all of that in the woods. But if you're doing too much and it's too hard, now you're putting physical stress on your body. Maybe mentally you feel great, but physically your body's screaming.
Right.
So taking care of yourself like that,
It all
that's
comes
such a
back.
broad statement.
It is. So it all comes back to listening to what your body has to tell you. And when it comes to self-care, my definition of self-care is activities and behaviors that make you feel comfortable and at peace in your body and your mind. So
I should be on a beach? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, if that feels good to your body and your mind, and it feels productive, like watching what do they call it when you sit on Netflix and you watch
Binge.
marathon binge
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill.
when you
think
binge on
that's
Netflix.
Lisa. That's not what that means.
Okay. I don't even think they say that anymore.
I don't think they do either.
That just tells you I'm in the phase of perimenopause.
Yes. I don't think the kids say that.
It's not a thing.
Well, that's not productive, though. Like just
No.
sitting and binging movies. So you might actually end up feeling worse after you're done. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm just relaxing. I'm going to watch TV. Well, if that doesn't make you feel better, if it doesn't make you feel more comfortable in your body or in your mind, then it's not actually productive. It's
right.
not actually self-care.
It's not really rest,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I feel that. I've done that. Like, damn it, I'm just going to spend the day and just, binge out on TV. And I do. And I feel shittier afterwards, honestly, because it isn't my definition of self-care.
Yeah.
It's just not. It might be somebody else and they feel great afterwards, but it isn't mine. And it's like a mind fuck a little bit. Like, oh, well, somebody else really enjoys doing this for the day and it's really relaxing to them. Why can't I relax like that? I'm going to. And then I'm like, that
wasn't so great
for me.
Well, I do enjoy sitting down and watching TV and letting my brain turn off, but I also know that that's not productive time for me. Like, it would be better if I went out into the woods and went for a walk. I feel a lot more energized and calm and peaceful when I do something like that, or gardening, or for me it's either water or nature. That's what I know I need. But I also like to read a book, and even sometimes sitting down and reading a book is not self-care for me, because
It's just passing
just
time.
turn off the brain, pass time.
Interesting.
So for me, self-care looks more like taking the time to cook a nice meal and then eating it, even if I'm all by myself. Self-care looks more like going for a walk in the woods, going for a swim in the lake, no matter how cold the water is. Or creating something, creating a piece of artwork or something like that. And even helping another person feels like self-care to me. Even though I'm helping them, it feels fulfilling to me, and it makes me feel good to be me.
So Pam, I'm making connections in my mind, and I don't know if they're true connections. So if your maiden hormone, estrogen, is trying like hell to, get your egg to release and go through the process that it traditionally does, and when that happens, that's your most creative time.
Correct.
Is it that you become less creative when you're in the perimenopause state?
I think that we're in this elevated state for a longer time than usual. So usually we have this up and down. We have this super creative time, and then we have a rest and recover time. And instead we're stuck in this moderately creative space for way too long, and our brain doesn't have time to recover from that.
Yeah. And I feel like women in our general age range have a tendency to try new things during this phase, or to kind of be more creative, just generally speaking. Like, oh, they started a new hobby, or they, shifted gears in some way. Suddenly she's an artist, or,
New career, new relationship. The highest number of divorce happens during when women are going through perimenopause. I think it's finally we speak up about not being happy about things.
Not being seen, not being heard, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we look for ways to be seen and heard through our creative endeavors.
And our anger.
And our anger.
Really.
And we also shift from pleasing everyone around us to now it's my turn.
Yeah. And perhaps even the age or the maturity of your family, right? Like, depending as to, where you're at with that, you may be like coming towards the end of child rearing phase, right? And it's like, all right, now I'm going to focus on me.
I love that you guys say that, because that is a bitch. Like,
It is
switching
a real big bitch.
It is. From switching to taking care of others to like, oh, what does it even look like to take care of me now?
It is hard.
It is not easy.
No.
So these things that I'm telling you guys, oh, just do this and it will help with perimenopause, they are hard things
it
to
is.
do. And just remember, you're like a teenager going through puberty again. You're learning all over again how to be you.
That's
So it's
interesting.
okay.
Well, and then not only are you having to figure that out for yourself, but you're also having then to teach and train everyone around you
Yes.
who the new you is.
Right.
Yes.
To change the way they have
Absolutely.
like interacted with you as opposed to a brand new type of relationship.
Right.
Wow. So I'm in my second teenage years. I mean, you know, there's certainly some rebellion, I think, that come along with the second teenage, you know, phase.
Sure.
I'm not as perky or excited or energetic, but
you know what you're doing. That's what makes it funny. And that's what makes it
And you
fun,
have more
I think.
resources.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't have to hitch a ride with somebody.
Nope. Don't have to ask for gas money. So can we talk a little bit more about some of the symptoms of perimenopause? I feel like there are so many, and most of us, again, we just think that it's part of getting older. We don't even equate it with perimenopause.
Yeah. So, right before we started recording, I was telling you that a lot of women have hot flashes as their number one symptom, but I have muscle cramps as my number one symptom. Like I get Charlie horses all the time. And that is a symptom of being shy on magnesium. That's another thing when our estrogen is constantly in this like trying phase, just trying to get to ovulation, trying to hit that threshold. Our body uses a lot of vitamins and minerals in that it's like this buildup of estrogen. Our body's working so hard that it's burning a lot of things. So for me, it's magnesium.
So when you, during perimenopause and you are gaining weight, your body really needs more nutrients. So you should maybe eat more food, but you're already gaining weight. So you don't want to eat more calories because that's not a good idea.
Right. So one of the other things that is really helpful for women during perimenopause is to increase our fat intake. I know it sounds really counterintuitive, but if we, like, for example, if you had 2 eggs cooked in butter or lard, along with a cup or 2 of sauteed greens, and maybe a couple of sausages in it for breakfast. Doesn't that sound delicious?
It does.
Like every day for breakfast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Having that extra fat from the sauteed greens in butter or lard and the eggs cooked in butter or lard, you're actually going to crave less food for the rest of the day. Your body will say, oh, I've had enough fat today. I'm not going to crave sugar or caffeine as much because my body is full and I feel good how I am. And I think one of the issues that a lot of women have is they try to eat more diet food, like the low fat, low sugar.
Trying to lose weight. So, right.
But increasing fat is actually what a lot of bodies need. And also increasing amino acids, like taurine especially. So amino acids...
It's in Red Bull. That's the only thing I know that it's in.
It gives us natural energy.
Gives us wings.
When I did some random research on it, because I was looking at the ingredients of like energy drinks, I think it's like bull testosterone.
A lot of times you can get amino acids that are meat. They are meat processed. So like a lot of people are really big on taking desiccated beef liver. Right now for supplementation, taurine is usually an animal byproduct as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But taurine helps block our adrenaline. So we're not having these ups and downs in our mood swings, which also levels out our cravings for food.
The other thing, as we're talking about this, and weight gain has been a thing for me, and it's why I think I repeatedly bring it up. But my internal voice, my kind one, not the bitch, is saying, when I was 10, before I hit puberty, or 8 or whatever, I had a body shape that was appropriate for an 8-year-old girl, and when I was 15, my body shape changed to be appropriate for a 15-year-old young woman. And when I was 21, after I had my first child, my body shape changed to be appropriate for a woman who had carried and delivered a child. And now I'm 49. And my body is going through its second puberty. And there's a shape that I should expect that my body changes to in support of the phase that I'm in. So I agree with everything that you've said. Please don't imagine that I am saying that, you're wrong, Pam, because I know you're not. Like, what you're saying is full 100% truth. And along with those things, I have to give myself a little damn grace, right? Because there are phases. As a woman, there is no static. We're just not static as creatures.
Right.
Men are more static.
That's a good point.
And we are not.
Right.
I've also noticed that women tend to lose the weight that they gain during perimenopause and menopause when they get beyond
Established.
Yes.
In
So when the
menopause.
hormones truly balance out again, right?
Well, actually,
Are you okay?
That was
dry canyon?
yeah.
Tumbleweeds are coming through.
yeah,
Balanced out.
because
Build a
our hormones
sandcastle.
don't balance. They slow to stop. Menopause is
Sure.
like no more major estrogen, no progesterone at all.
But
our
so
body
that's
gets
what I mean.
used to it.
It
Right,
balances.
right. So we're not,
Yeah.
our estrogen isn't working really hard to try to produce an egg or release an egg. So we're not having those spikes in hormones. They just balance out, even if
Yeah.
that means they're non-existent.
Right.
And, tumbleweed dry. But that's when it becomes easier to control your weight again. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yes. Yes.
So it's a season.
So it is. This is just the way I look right now.
Yes.
And that's okay. Right? There's some grace in that.
Yes.
All right. So we were talking, and I know we got stuck on the whole weight gain thing because that's the one that everybody can see.
Well, it is. That's one of the big
Yeah.
side effects,
Right.
really.
There
right?
are more.
Well, we've talked about bio-individuality before, where every single body is different. So there is an entire list of symptoms that could occur, and it just depends on what you're predisposed to. So hot flashes are very common. Migraines are very common. Weight gain is very common. The fancy word for growing hair in random places is hirsutism. When you get hirsutism on your face.
Sexy.
Or a lot of women grow hair around their nipples, around their belly. I have one hair that grows on my neck.
Yeah.
And one that grows on my eyelid. Interesting, weird things like that. I personally deal with going back and forth between constipation and diarrhea, which I think also is a blood sugar issue and a gut behavior issue, which can also be affected by estrogen. And dry eye, chronic dry eye. That's another big thing for me. But a lot of women also deal with racing hearts, anxiety, depression,
Sleeplessness.
insomnia.
That's a
It
huge
is a
one for
terrible
me.
one. Yeah.
Either having trouble falling asleep or
Staying
having trouble
asleep.
staying asleep.
Yeah.
I noticed, so my husband goes to bed really early because he gets up really early. And if I go to bed when he does, say 8 o'clock, maybe I'm really tired and going to bed, I will be awake in the night every single time. But if I stay up later and don't go to bed till, say, 11, then I can sleep through. I mean, I'm not going to get up at 5, but I can get up at 7 or 8. But I will sleep through. Even if his alarm goes off and I hear it and he gets up and I say goodbye but I go right back to sleep usually. But if I go to bed early, I am up in the night every single time without fail.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
How dark is your bedroom?
Very dark.
Very, very You can't see street lights?
Nope, we have blackout shades.
Okay. Because one of the easiest ways to try to help yourself with falling asleep or staying asleep is to mimic being out in the middle of nowhere and the moon. So 3 weeks a month you keep it as dark as possible in your bedroom, and then 1 week a month you leave the light on in your closet
Oh,
For the full moon.
for the full moon. And
Interesting.
a lot of times that can help just get your serotonin back
Okay.
in check by doing that a couple months in a row. But if it's always dark in your room, maybe just adding in 1 week of some kind of light.
somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
just
would give that a try.
rolling up the blind a
Yeah,
little bit
right,
for that
just
week.
leaving it open.
Yeah.
Sure.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I had no idea. And I have a hard time falling asleep that early too, right? So I might end up staying up, even just reading for, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I just cannot fall asleep.
Yeah.
And if I'm really exhausted, then I will fall asleep, but I can't stay asleep. So I will give that sleep cycle moon trick a try.
Natural melatonin is very similar to progesterone that way. It does help you calm down. So trying to work with your own personal melatonin levels is good. Of course, they sell it in a bottle, but that's not quite the same as your own.
Right.
What about joints and ligaments, Pam?
Yeah, joint pain and ligament pain. Well, remember the maiden hormone, estrogen, increases our blood supply, which actually can eventually... Okay, let me start again. As a massage therapist, I compare muscles to sponges, like a dish sponge. And when you haven't had them squeezed out by exercise or massage in a while, it's like they're soaking up that dirty dishwater and they need to be squeezed out. So
I need to be put through the ringer. Yuck. I'm full of dirty dishwater.
It's so gross. And it's cold and nasty.
Oh,
and there's
I
probably
hate
an
that.
old elbow noodle on you.
And there's grease around the edges. Ugh.
Gross.
Well, estrogen is like the tap is always running into the sink, but the water is never really getting clean. It's not able to empty because it's always filling. So your muscles are not actually empty, like getting the fresh in at all times. So joint and ligament pain, a lot of times can be taken care of with magnesium too. So sometimes that's a magnesium deficiency that you're feeling. So you can either go and get your muscles worked over by somebody, drink plenty of clean water. The 3 C's that usually increase inflammation and joint and muscle pain are carbonation, caffeine and cigarettes. So those three things, if you can try to eliminate them as much as possible, it'll help decrease pain levels as well.
What about taking a supplement like collagen? I noticed that
It's
so my
very
knees
hip
hurt.
right now.
I know, but so my knees hurt, but if I'm taking collagen, they don't.
That means that your body is reacting really well to it.
Right.
If it's helping you, keep doing it. But like I said, there's no one size fits all for everybody.
There isn't, right.
Collagen right now is being advertised really heavily for skin and hair.
Yeah.
I didn't notice a difference in my skin or hair, but it absolutely makes a difference in my knees.
Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's always worth a try. I think finding that missing puzzle piece is worth its weight in gold.
It is.
And if you
for real.
Yeah. If you find something that works, you hold on to it for as long as it works.
Yeah. So we've been beating around the bush about all of these symptoms of different things. Some you can see, some are not as apparent, some are more apparent. Let's talk about the period itself, right? Like that is the elephant in the room. Like that's a monster. So, you know, it can be really dreadful.
Yeah.
And again, is this kind of that aspect of common versus normal? Like, what is normal? What isn't normal? What should I expect? Like, I feel like I'm literally like bleeding to death sometimes.
Heavier periods are normal. They're common and they are normal.
Clotting.
Because estrogen is high, and estrogen is what builds up our uterine lining.
Oh.
And estrogen doesn't take a break for longer than normal.
No, that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So the most wonderful thing I can tell you is that there is a new product on the market called the period panty.
Oh, yeah.
I have those.
Thank goodness
Yeah.
for those. It is very, very, very common during perimenopause to flood. That is the technical term. That is
That is what it feels like,
It's
too.
straightforward.
That is,
That is what happens.
doctors call it. Yeah, flooding. And it's like you sneeze and all of a sudden
Oh,
gush,
gosh.
It's so
or
bad.
You stand up.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't laugh.
Oh, good Lord. Definitely do not do that.
So my secret trick to guard against flooding is using a menstrual cup and period undies. Those are the two things. If I didn't have those two things, I would make a mess
Everywhere. All
every
the time.
day. But your period should not be longer. Like you should not be bleeding more days.
Oh.
It should just be more volume. Because it still should be taking the same amount of time for your follicle to dissolve in your body. Which
Interesting.
is how long your luteal phase lasts.
Mine is actually all the things that nobody wants to know about Lisa, but mine is actually, I think, shortened a little bit. It is
Yeah.
just brutal while it's happening, though.
Yeah.
I think that happened to me, and then it got longer and heavier.
Oh, it's a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Perimenopause is not a straight line. So it may go up and down a little bit before you actually start skipping periods. And then once you start skipping periods, you still may have some flooding times. You may still have shorter cycles, longer cycles.
More cramping or less cramping.
Yeah.
Some warning or no warning.
Yeah. And I keep track of my cycle. I've been keeping track of my cycle for years and years.
They have an app for that.
Oh, they've got
Loads of
millions.
apps. Yeah. It's really helpful, I feel like. Except for when you do get into that phase where you are skipping periods, and
Well-
like you just can't predict them then.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Are you pregnant?" No,
No.
I am not fucking pregnant.
Sure.
That's why my phone has a broken screen. No.
Every month.
But like I can see that my body tries several times before I get my period to ovulate. Like, because I'm paying attention to my cervical mucus. And it's like, oh, I have cervical mucus. I'm ovulating. Oh, no, I'm not. Next day I'm dry. 7 days later, oh, okay, I might be ovulating. Oh, no.
No, just kidding.
Just kidding. My body can't do it. And then finally, 6 weeks later, I get my period.
Right.
And
Out
it's
of
like,
nowhere when I wasn't ready.
I was hoping I was going to skip this month, but
Right.
okay, that's fine.
Here we are.
I'll start all over. Start counting again. Because 12 months without a period, that
Correct.
is when you're in menopause then.
Yeah, and nature's cruel joke is usually almost every woman I've ever talked to goes without a period for 11 and a half months.
Oh my God.
Gets a period and has
Lose
to
my
start
mind.
counting all over again.
Guess what, bitch? Just kidding. Your BFF's here. I've missed you.
Oh, good grief. Wow. Great.
Yeah,
Extra fun.
it is fun. This whole thing is fun, isn't it?
It's hilarious.
It's so fun.
It's like a real good time.
I do have a really, really interesting trick to share before we move on to anything else. Is one of the things that happens during perimenopause is we end up having really high highs and really low lows with our mood, especially.
Accurate.
So one of the things that is a little trick when you have really low moods is to take an antihistamine.
What?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Like a Benadryl?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
It helps with our mood because estrogen will kind of lock onto histamines in our body.
So you
And-
become allergic to yourself?
Yeah. We will actually just like our gums bleed when we have higher estrogen levels when we're brushing or flossing. We will also have more allergic reactions to bug bites, bee stings, things like that, hay fever. And when we're starting to feel really low, that might also indicate that histamine levels are too high in our body and we need an antihistamine.
Good grief.
Well, all of those things are fascinating. First, I could go down each and every one of those rabbit holes that you just talked about. We don't have time today, but I'm definitely going to research
Yeah.
that shit. The next time I'm at the dentist, I'd like to know what my estrogen level is before they start giving me like
Third degree for not being a good flosser.
hardcore guilt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was
Yes.
thinking that too as you were just saying that. Like, yeah. Maybe it's not me being a terrible flosser. Maybe
It's my vagina. Have you ever thought of that, hygienist? No? Well, you should.
Stop trying to sell me your water pick. My gums are just fine. It's my estrogen that's out of control.
Can I use that water pick down there? Will it help?
Oh, God. Oh.
Wow. So basically, anything that doesn't,
Anything goes.
anything that goes wrong is probably because
It goes.
something.
Anything
Your
goes.
ovaries are doing something. Or not.
Or not. Trying to.
But not.
Just rest, eat healthy, and make sure you're getting all your vitamins and minerals, and you are doing better than the majority of people on the planet.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a very kind way to end this because, feeling a little like maybe I need a Benadryl right now. It's not exactly an uplifting sort of conversation, right? All of these terrible things are happening
And
or
it's
going to
normal.
happen.
Oh, it's hilarious. Come on.
But you do have to laugh about it, right? Because if you don't, you are just going to be one big old angry,
There's no way around it.
That's
sad
right.
Sally.
So-
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's normal. So you have to be okay with it.
right.
Huh.
So that's that. Pam, before we sign off again, why don't you, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we'll just do our end of
Sure.
shows spiel.
Sure. Well, I own Sisterhood Services. We do hormonal care, menstrual care, lactation care, doula care, and massage therapy for people in need of a little help in any of those areas. And I'm also, so that's sisterhoodservices.com. We do a lot of services on Zoom or in person. And I'm also the executive director of sisterwellwi.org, and we help make sure that anyone who needs menstrual products and menstrual education can get it here in southeastern Wisconsin.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
I really, every time I hear you talk about the organizations that you have and are supporting the community with, my heart absolutely fills. Like, these are the exact needs that we started really as a foundation of writing Side Saddle. And although it's coming at it from a different approach and a different angle, I feel like we're charging forward on the same side, on the same team.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, so that we can shift some of these things for our future generations.
Well, thank you for doing this to you guys as well. I'm just starting these conversations as half the battle, right?
It is.
For sure.
Awesome.
All right. All right. And thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
At Mind Garden Media. If you're thinking about putting a podcast together, we know somebody who could help you with that.
He's fantastic at
He's
it.
fantastic. So thank you very much, Todd, for all of your hard work, always keeping us on track and having great content for us to put out. So thanks, Todd.
Absolutely. And to our listeners who may be menopausal, may be perimenopausal, may be in their motherhood or maiden stage,
Or not any of those things, and you just support somebody who is in any of
amen
those
to
stages.
that. Absolutely. Thank you for continuing to listen. Give your feedback. If you have thoughts about these topics, things that you would like to know about more specifically, things that, it connected to a different type of topic that you'd be interested in hearing about, reach out to us, let us know, share, comment, share with your own people within your life who this might be in support of.
Absolutely. So until next time.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.